So last week, I asked people to ask me questions in celebration of hitting 25,000 subscribers, and oh my gosh, I practically got 25,000 questions. Not really, though, but it sure felt that way. I went through the list, and I picked out the ones that were asked by multiple people, and a few that just interested me personally. I had a lot of fun doing this, and so hopefully maybe we'll do it again. 30K subscribers. Anyway, here we go. What do you do for a living? Are you really a professor? Yes, I am. I actually teach at a college. Well, a community college. What do you teach? I teach lower division English classes, or essentially the equivalent of freshman or sophomore English composition courses. The ones that I most typically teach are literary analysis and rhetorical analysis, kind of the fiction, nonfiction counterparts to one another. In my literary analysis class, I teach Jhumpa Lahiri's Interpreter of Maladies, ZZ Packer's Drinking Coffee Elsewhere, and my personal favorite, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. By the way, if you've never read Octavia Butler, you should check her out. Parable of the Sower is a fabulous piece of science fiction that imagines the contemporary problems of today, everything from drug abuse to gang culture to the education crisis, spiraling out of control, escalating and exaggerated into this dystopian future. It's an excellent, excellent read. I can't recommend it enough. Do your students know that you have a channel and that you play Magic the Gathering? So far, it hasn't come up. Before I had the channel, there were a few days where I wore one of my Magic the Gathering t-shirts into class to see if anyone would notice, but pretty much the only response I got was, "Why aren't you in a suit today? That's weird." Nobody commented on the fact that it was a Magic the Gathering t-shirt. Once I saw a student who was wearing an Is It shirt in the back of the classroom, and I commented on it, and he was astonished that I played. I don't look that old, do I? Do you attend Friday Night Magic in your suit? No, I have never worn one of my suits into F&M. Unless they change the F from Friday to formal Night Magic, then I dress casually instead, just in usually a Magic the Gathering related t-shirt or other nerd shirt. What's the origin of your channel's name? The name is based off of the Tolarian Academy. Tolarian Academy was made by the greatest Planeswalker ever, Urza. Look him up in your history books. And it was the site of some of the most advanced wizarding education that were fighting the noble fight against the Phyrexians. Well, we're not exactly the Academy here, but we do card sleeve reviews. What's your favorite color in Magic the Gathering? I do not have a favorite color of Magic. I love every color of Magic. Black, white, red, blue, green, and every combination therein. I love this game, and I love all the colors of it. However, if I had to say that I had a preferred color for playstyle, I do tend to favor usually red aggro decks, but that's just in terms of enjoyment, not really so much in terms of flavor. In terms of flavor, if I were in the Magic the Gathering world, I would probably be most attracted to blue Magic, but not in terms of play style, just in terms of the flavor of blue Magic. What color would you get rid of and why? Why would I get rid of a color of Magic? That'd be like getting rid of a fifth of the game. No. All colors are awesome. That's what makes this game awesome. What's your favorite guild? Is it? Yes, it is. It's a bunch of mad scientists who are run by a giant genius dragon. How can you not love Is It? I actually love all 10 of the Ravnica guilds. I think they are some of the most flavorful aspects of Magic the Gathering, just the idea behind them and the way in which those two color combinations permeate in each of the guilds. I love them all, and I love Ravnica just in terms of flavor especially. But if I had to pick one guild, that would definitely be Is It. 'Cause giant genius dragon! What's your favorite shard? Esper, for flavor reasons. What's your favorite format? I like all formats of Magic the Gathering pretty much, with rare exception. I really enjoy the differences that they bring and that we experience playing them. But if you said to me that I could only play one format for the rest of my life, and I would be able to play that format as often and as competitively as I like, just like I can play Standard and Modern and Draft and such, but had to limit myself to just one format, that format would probably be Highlander, otherwise known as 100 Card Singleton. should really do a video about that. Not enough people play it. Star Wars or Star Trek? Star Trek. Have you ever aspired to be a pro player? Not really, although I think that the idea of being a pro is alluring to most people who play Magic the Gathering just because it's so skill reliant, by which I mean you don't need to get noticed by a talent scout and signed up, but your skill is the main factor in, if you wish to be a pro, ushering you into that lifestyle. And obviously it's not 100% skill dependent, but the fact that that is such a large part definitely is what attracts a lot of people who are not pros to having aspirations or dreams of one day being pro. Me, I really like it at the local game store level. I like casual Magic, but more than casual Magic, more than playing over the kitchen table, I really like things like F&M and other in-store events. It's competitive, but it's not quite the Pro Tour. I don't really know that there's a term for that type of player. I don't know that I'd refer to myself strictly as a casual, as I am very competitive and very knowledgeable about the game, but I don't really have pro aspirations. So what's between the two? Maybe we need a new term to be made up. What are your thoughts on the Pauper format? I love Pauper, and I can't for the life of me figure out why more people don't play it in paper Magic. Pauper is almost entirely played on Magic Online, at least competitively, and they were trying to do some shenanigans recently to decrease those levels many players felt. But I really wish more people at their local game store played Pauper because it's so affordable. Top tier decks are $40, and there's so much room for creativity and homebrewing because it is essentially legacy. It's just commons only, and so you can pull from cards from throughout Magic's history just so long as they are commons. I absolutely adore the format, and I wish people would play it more. Who is your favorite Planeswalker? Favorite old walker? Teferi, because he is essentially the Doctor Who of Magic the Gathering. Favorite new walker? I'm going to say Liliana, who I'm rooting to kick Garrick's butt. What do you think the Magic community can do in order to make women feel more comfortable playing the game? I feel this is a super important issue, something that both players and store owners and, of course, Wizards of the Coast should be taking very seriously. As far as the player level is concerned, if you have not already seen MTG Mythic Tech's video on the subject, please, please, please go view this here. Think about it, study it, contemplate it. It's just one of the best, most articulate videos that I've ever seen on the subject. In fact, it's practically like an essay into itself, which I teach. I really was considering bringing this into the classroom as an example of forming a really excellent argument and supporting that argument. Just please go check out the video, check it out, check it out, check it out now. As far as Wizards of the Coast is concerned, I think the major problem is not that women and females don't like Magic the Gathering, which is stupid and ridiculous. Of course they do. It's that it's not targeted at them on the corporate level. And that's one of the biggest changes that needs to take place. How do you become a better Magic player? You become a better Magic player by playing Magic. Don't be afraid to lose. Actually, you can learn a lot from losing if you can handle it emotionally and psychologically. That's how I learn, is by losing to better players and then asking them about their decks, seeing what they did, thinking about what I might have done better or how I could have built my deck more efficiently. That's how you become a better player, by playing. What's your opinion on the Commander format? I love Commander as well. In fact, like I said, I love most formats. One of the things about Commander that I think is really funny is that for the longest time, Wizards of the Coast was not a major supporter of it. In fact, if you look back, there's a lot of interviews where people from Wizards of the Coast had made quotes saying things like they don't really understand what the appeal is to the format. And then, when they started making a lot of money off of supplemental Commander product, then they started to like it a lot. And I think that's really great. But what I think is funny is that they're not doing that with other formats. Why don't they embrace other formats like Pauper and Highlander and try and really promote them to increase sales and to diversify the number of formats that are out there? What's your personal favorite card? No, don't make me pick a favorite card. I can't do it. You know, the joke response for the longest time when they'd ask pro players what they think the most powerful card is, they would answer Island. So maybe I'll be contrary and I'll say my favorite card is Mountain, just because without that, I couldn't Lightning Bolt. Counter spells might be more powerful than direct damage spells like Lightning Bolt, but Lightning Bolt is a lot more fun. Where does your love for merfolk come from? Yes, merfolk are definitely one of my most favorite decks, especially in Modern. I think that what I like about merfolk is that they're a tempo aggro deck, and so I'm getting to do all aspects of Magic, even though they're typically monocolored, although I have been playing around with black-blue merfolk in Modern recently. Should do a video about that, I suppose. But I like that I'm getting to cast tempo spells and get card advantage, but also get some forces on the ground, play interactively, aggressively. I really just enjoy the deck, even when I lose, which is often. I enjoy playing that deck. When should a completely new player start going to Friday Night Magic? You are ready to go into Friday Night Magic and pre-release as soon as you understand the basic rules of the game and you can play your turn reliably and in a time-effective manner, by which I mean you're not going to take 2 hours to go through just one round because you're really, really slow at knowing what to play and when, and you forget untap, you forget not to tap when you block, things like that. Once you get really comfortable with those basics of the game, go in and play. Don't be afraid of losing. Don't beat yourself up for losing. Don't feel that you need a tier 1 deck to play Friday Night Magic or that you need to be the best at sealed before you can go in and do a pre-release. Go in and play, and that, as I just said, is how you get better at this game. What is the easiest color to start out with? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say red. Mono red. That's the best starting deck that you can usually put together. And in Standard, obviously, it's going to depend on what sets are currently in Standard. But for the most part, you can put mono red decks together in Standard, in Modern, and yes, even in Legacy for very, very cheap relative to other decks. And they're also some of the easiest to pilot, I feel, and most fun too. So if you're thinking about starting in Modern, if you're thinking about starting in Standard, if you're thinking about starting in Legacy, I always say look into a budget mono red deck and then see what it's like. See what the format is like. It's especially good for new players in Standard, new players in general. Mono red, get ahead. What are your thoughts on Modern Masters 2? I expect that we will be seeing Modern Masters 2, and I have just one real hope for that set, that it is not printed in such low supply. That was absolutely ridiculous how hard it was to get a hold of, how expensive it was, and how little it actually affected Modern prices. We do need, sorry collectors, I'm one too, but we do need some of these cards to come down in price for accessibility sake, and that kind of should be happening with reprints in a Modern Masters set. I'm not saying that they should drop down to being $1 each, but we need there to be a larger print run, at least larger than the first time around. I hope to see Modern Masters 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I want to see it actually printed to a point that I can get those packs and play those packs, let alone people can draft regularly with it while it's in. I think they did a really good job with the print numbers in Conspiracy. I'd love to see that for Modern Masters too. What's your favorite card art? I cannot possibly pick a single piece of Magic the Gathering art that is my absolute favorite. It can't be done, but I can tell you my favorite styles of Magic the Gathering art. My favorite styles are those that are different. I like artists whose art you can recognize as being theirs just by looking at the picture. I dislike intensely homogeny, meaning sameness among Magic the Gathering art. And I don't think that's the fault of any individual artist. I think that's the fault of sometimes the direction that maybe Wizards of the Coast wants to go in making sure that these cards all look like they come from the same world and the same set, which of course makes a lot of sense. But I think sometimes that pendulum swings a little too far and we get kind of a homogenous effect. I love Rebecca Gay's art. I love Therese Nielsen's art. I love Mark Teeden's art. I love Mark Poole's art. Quentin Hoover's art from the old days. He was just so talented, and on and on. The list goes on and on. And I love contemporary artists as well. Raymond Swandland and on and on and on. I mean, I'm just going to literally read it out. There's no one whose art I dislike. I have always enjoyed the fantasy of Magic the Gathering art, and I have such great admiration and respect for those artists. I'm definitely one of the players who believes that an artist's signature on a card increases its value, even though technically it does slightly decrease it. I don't know. But I absolutely love Magic the Gathering art. I do wish that we could bring in more of the old traditional artists. I wish that we could have more of a diversity of techniques on display, meaning that it doesn't all have to be illustrated on a computer, that it's okay to have stencils and watercolors and other hand art and hand techniques in addition to those that are done on a computer. I mean, it's all done by an artist and by a human. It's not like the computer generates it, but I think that when it's only one style that is favored, that too, unfortunately, leads sometimes to a homogeny effect, and that's what I dislike. What do you think of the modern format, and can this be played casually with friends? I love Modern. I absolutely love the format, and one of the things that we really need to see in Modern is more casual players, more Johnny-style players, if you know what I mean. This is a format that's currently dominated by competitive players and advanced players because it's a competitive advanced format, and I think that's great. That's a really great aspect of it, but we need people making silly theme decks. We need people experimenting and just playing at home around the kitchen table. What's so great about Modern is that your cards never rotate out. And so the decks that you make, save for the incredibly unlikely event of one card being banned, which is not something that's going to happen regularly to you, you get to keep the deck that you build. And so it's a little more expensive than Standard at first, but for long-term players, it's one of the cheaper formats out there because the deck is yours for keeps. And so I still get to play my beloved Modern Merfolk and my beloved Modern Mono Red, and you will still get to play your Modern Elves or your Modern Infect or whatever, and it's not going to rotate away. You can tinker with it, you can improve it, you can keep those decks that you love, and for me, that's one of the things I love about Modern, I love about Legacy, I love about Pauper, I love about Highlander, 100-card Singleton, I love about all the Commander, all those formats is because for me, having that deck that I made and that I enjoy to play is a big part of this game. And one of the most depressing things about Standard is there have been some decks that I loved to pieces, to tears, and they're long gone, and they don't work in other formats, and I really wish I could play with them again. And the idea that that would only be what there is just losing your decks, losing your decks, losing your decks, is why I would never pick to only play Standard. What's the best part about being a Magic the Gathering player and a Magic the Gathering YouTuber? The community, absolutely the community, and I really mean it. The most interesting and enjoyable aspect of Magic the Gathering is you and people like you, because I have met so many awesome people. I have made now lifelong friends from this game. It has been a part of my life ever since high school, and I hope that it continues to be, not because of the game, but because of the people who play it.